We're waking up this morning to devastation in Minneapolis. Peaceful protests transitioning into violence and looting. One man is dead and another is in custody after a shooting near the demonstrations. Some buildings up in flames, others seriously damaged. An apartment complex that was under construction on 29th Street has burned to the ground. This is near the corner of 29th Street and 27th Avenue. The fire could be seen from miles away.
Hello, fellow Americans. This is the Humbugger from HumbugLefty.com. This is my first video on the Humbug Lefty channel. And the reason why I decided to start up a YouTube channel is because I think I need to elaborate a little more on what I believe is going on right now in this country. I mean, there was a despicable killing by a black man by police officers in Minneapolis. But the first clip that I just played you was how the people decide to vent their frustration by burning down one of the most beautiful cities in the United States. I've been there before. But I understand how sometimes that stuff can happen. And I also understand that some of these protests were organized and some of these rioting, looting was organized. I really believe that. But there was something disturbing as I was watching the news one day, and a lot of the clips I'll play today are older, some even years old, but I have to get my point across. I'm wearing a Keep America Great hat because America needs to stay great. There's a reason why that there are thousands of immigrants daily trying to cross our borders illegally. In order to get into the greatest country on earth. I mean, we can call it racist, we can call it whatever we want, but obviously immigrants coming across this country don't think so. But in order to keep this country great, there are some disturbing things that I believe are going on. Let's take a listen to one of the founders of Black Lives Matter.
He was concerned, or is concerned, that that there's a lack of perhaps ideological direction in Black Lives Matter.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Okay, after watching and listening to that, I decided to put on my USA shirt and keep my Keep America Great hat on and give about humbug. Marxism. A lot of people don't understand what Marxism actually is. And basically what it is it's saying that the working class should own everything and everything should go equal. And then you have basically the political class that makes sure that everything stays equal and distributed out to everyone. Now, one of the problems with Marxism is that the people at the top tend to get a little bit richer than the people at the bottom instead of doing things fairly. What ends up happening is a lot of people at the top ends up believing that they know what's best for you, adults, and things like that. Now, there is a good recent example of how that works out, and I'm going to show you what and how Marxism turns into socialism and how the results of socialism usually ends up when you run out of other people's money.
Venezuela is at a breaking point. Thousands taking to the streets yet again today after weeks of violent protests in the capital city of Caracas. More than 400 arrested, at least 7 people killed. Dr. Jorge Olivaria was on the front lines.
People are hungry, but for democracy, for liberties, for rights.
This woman now a symbol of defiance, facing down a National Guard armored truck. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson voicing concern late yesterday.
Well, we are concerned that the government of Maduro is violating its own constitution.
Did you hear that, folks? The government of Maduro is violating his own constitution. Now, those who don't know who Nicolas Maduro is, Nicolas Maduro was the vice president of Hugo Chavez, who started the socialist movement in Venezuela. At one time, Venezuela was the richest country in South America. And then after Hugo Chavez decided that, and he came from very, very poor beginnings. So what he did was he looked at it and he said, you know what? Why should these rich ruling class people in capitalism have all this when the actual workers, just like Marxism, is doing all the work, but they're not sharing in the full-fledged things of the profits? Now, the difference between capitalism, Marxism, socialism is that capitalism gives everyone an incentive to do better. So let's say if I'm working for an oil company and I'm making, I don't know, $30 an hour. And then the guy at the top that owns the oil company that made the investment in all the drilling technologies and everything like that, he makes $1 million a year. Now, I know how to drill oil now, me being a worker, so why don't I learn to get the financing and do everything I can and work my way up and hire other people and maybe pay them better than what I'm getting paid? Now, that's the way that capitalism works, where every man gets a chance to do things. So what I call equality is that everyone has an equal opportunity to do something, and not by color, race, color, creed, or anything like that, but by every man's own ambition. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit more of an example of what this socialism looked like from one of the richest countries in South America to now one of the poorest countries in South America under first Hugo Chavez, which he kind of died out and left it in the hands of Nicolas Maduro. And I'm also going to show you who supports Nicolas Maduro. Don't be surprised.
The Venezuelan economy has been in free fall for years after oil prices collapsed, leading to widespread shortages of food, water, medicine, and other essentials. Protesters blame President Nicolas Maduro and his socialist government, which has seized control of many companies over the years, most recently U.S.-owned General Motors, which immediately halted production. Thousands from Miami to Houston marched in solidarity. An unprecedented crisis in what used to be the envy of Latin America.
And here we have it, folks. An image from 2015. One of the founders of BLM, Opal Tometi, happily embracing a ruthless dictator and failed socialist Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela. Is this the future that BLM envisions for these United States? Things that make you go, bah, humbug, lefty.